I remember I'm a huge fan of MMA, and Anderson Silva, one of the greatest MMA legends, one of the greatest fighters that has ever been in the octagon. Anderson Silva had this cool, calm, collected style in the ring. And what was interesting is you could see his the relaxed state he was in. You could see this space that he was in, that nothing phased him. And he would be in that place for the whole fight. And it was wild because he was able to watch, he was able to observe, he was able to react in a way that other guys did not, because they were in the anxiety, they were in the fight. Anderson Silva was in play. He was in his mode. He was just dancing around that ring. And granted, later on in his career, he got caught, he lost, but he still had that relaxed state, that looseness, that dance, and that calm under pressure that not many other people could match. And it allowed him to react in a peaceful, calm manner, even in the most heated of situations. It's not easy to stay calm when someone's trying to punch you in the face. It's not easy to stay calm when you're being chased down by a grizzly bear. But these are the exact moments that you need to try to keep your composure and to stay calm under pressure, because those are the moments that you need to be making decisions that are going to be things that affect you in the long term. All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Sean Trey Show. It is just me today. I'm going to try to put out every Monday some inspirational thoughts. And today I had some stuff happen that this week I want to actually kind of refresh on things that are happening in that week. And I've been talking to some guests, and I had something interesting happen with Ailani this week that kind of was funny, but also a little bit stressful. And it gave me some thoughts to think about. Thoughts to think about. That's a great one right there. What else do we have our thoughts for? But this is about staying calm under pressure. And it was something that popped up and an event that happened after we were driving back from Muay Thai. First of all, I'm really happy that I've been getting back into Muay Thai and exercise. And I did something that was a really cool method of doing something. I did habit stacking. And I know this is on Atomic Habits. James Clear talks about how if you pair and combine habits, it makes it easier to do something. One of the habits I had, and something I really stick by, is getting Ailani to her Muay Thai class on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays. And it's really easy for me to get her to those classes. And I'm more dedicated to the classes if I work out as well at the gym. And so I spoke to the gym and I said, hey, I don't want to take one of your classes right now, not because they're not awesome. They are awesome, but they kind of train the people like they're 25-year-old young people. And I'm, 46. And certainly I'm getting back in shape, and I can train as hard as a lot of young people, but I wanted to honor where I was at in that space of not being the most in shape. So as I started getting back in shape, I started getting in and training myself, and now I'm back in a better place. But Ailani and I had been working out, and we were on our way home from the gym, and something happened that freaked her out. We were driving down the road, riding our motorbike, and there's cockroaches in Southeast Asia that are quite large. Some big cockroaches. And one of the things that they don't tell you about cockroaches that is definitely something you should know is that cockroaches can fly. Yeah, a cockroach can fly. And it's terrifying to see this big black thing. It looks like a small bird flying towards you. And they have this as the wings flap. And Ailani is terrified of cockroaches. And we were driving down the road, and out of the trash, someone's trash, flew this cockroach, and it hit her in the eye. And needless to say, she lost it. She freaked out. We had to pull over, and then she's like, something hit me in the eye, which obviously hurt. She was in pain. I checked her eye. It was okay. And there was no major scratches. It was just red. She was rubbing it. And surely, obviously, there was no cuts, no bleeding, no nothing there. And, I said, I think you're okay. We need to keep going. Well, what was it? What was it? What just hit me in the face? And at that moment, I was like, should I tell her? I knew my daughter, and I probably should have just shut up. But I was like, well, it was a cockroach. Then the meltdown happened. She freaked out. a cockroach. Oh my goodness, is my eye going to get infected? Is it dirty? And she freaked out. And she didn't just stop freaking out. It was a full 25, 30 minutes of freak out. And so I was sitting there at this point going, all right, we've got this kid who is in a full blown meltdown, and I need to do something about this because I can't handle this meltdown right now. And she was getting, even more freaked out, even more worked up, started hyperventilating. And finally, I was able to get her calmed down at home. And I said, Ilani, you have to realize something. Panic never solves the problem. It just makes things worse. And she was like, talk to me about that. And I was like, well, think about a soldier going into battle. And she's like, yeah, right. And his buddy, his friend gets shot. Okay. Yeah, he's hurt. My knee. And I said, if I'm sitting there going, I'm freaking out. What's happened? I'm so sad. I'm so angry. I'm going to get hurt too. I might get shot. I might fall down and hurt myself just in a really stupid way. Or, it maybe I'm distracting from someone who needs the help. And I said, what? I remember that once I saw a car accident. She's like, really? I said, yeah. The car, when it was driving and it flipped over and went into a river. And it was upside down on a river. And she's like, well, what happened? And I said, well, everyone stood around staring at the car, freaking out. People were freaked out, screaming. They were crying. And she's like, well, what happened next? I said, I stayed calm. I walked down and I said, I need something to break the window. And someone threw me a golf club. And I stayed calm and I hit the window and I hit it twice. And then I reached in and I felt a hand. A hand grabbed my hand. And then I just pulled. And I pulled the person out of the car. I was like, I'm not that strong, but on that day I was really strong. And she's like, that's amazing, Daddy. And I was like, not bad. And I said, but what happened is I stayed calm. It was a bad situation, but I stayed calm. And it allowed me to be able to be a person who made a difference in that moment. It allowed me to be a person who was able to help people instead of needing to be helped. And, this is something that is really important to remember because I told her calm is a choice and a skill. Like, in Muay Thai, when you go, you're all freaked out. Someone punched me. All right, step back and realize, oh, I'm okay. Okay, I'm going to stay calm. And I love Stoic philosophy. And there's lots of different tools that Stoicism has to kind of stay calm. One of them is like the view from above. It's this idea of you kind of step back and view your situation like from the larger perspective. And you're able to sit there and go, you know what? What I'm dealing with right now is not all that big. Tomorrow, that cockroach will be flown away and my eye will be okay. Tomorrow, some other event that's happening in my life that might seem so serious right now will have passed. And it allows you to kind of keep your head because you're not in it as much. Now, I also pointed out, and I said, Ilani, if you keep your head, you can protect your family, you can lead your team, you can lead your group of people to a safer place. But if you lose your head, you're not going to be able to be the person who makes an impact. And I sat her down and I said, all right, your buddy gets shot. What are you going to do? And she's like, I'm going to stay calm. And I was like, yeah. And we got to figure out where was the action come from? Even if you're playing a game of paintball or laser tag or something like that, you got to figure out where the bad guy's at. You got to sit there and stay calm and look around the room. And it's sad that we have to teach our kids about this, but the reality is that the world is not a safe place. We have many wonderful, beautiful people in it. But, living overseas, living outside of the bubble of safety that I grew up in, I came to realize, you have to kind of keep your head on a swivel. You got to look around. You got to stay awake. You got to stay aware. And luckily, I live in a place that is quite safe for my daughter. And that, I can feel that she's safe most of the time. But we also live in a house that it's gated. We have bars in the windows because safety is important. And we do things that keep us safe. And I tell my daughter, when we go out our front door, you have to be aware and you have to be calm. And every single day, we try to instill in Ailani, and I try to instill in myself, the role of not just being safe, but also being a leader, being someone who can help keep a situation better for everyone around, being someone who can keep things calm. Keeping things calm is a really important thing to do. And it's a skill. It's a skill that we work on. It's a choice. But you work on it by staying calm in little situations, by staying calm in the little things. One of the places that is a playground for Ailani is in a training ground is she plays Minecraft, and she was playing multiplayer game, and a yesterday she was playing one of her multiplayer games, and she had amassed all of this loot and all of these items, and she was playing in this one type of game that there's a little while that they turn on, like a free fight, and then you can fight your friends and enemies and all that, and then you go back to building. And in that time, her character got killed. And when her character got killed, she lost all of the items that she had amassed. And she started freaking out. And I said, hey, 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 stay calm. You stay calm, and we can think of a situation. And she sat down, and we started looking at different solutions. And I said, well, what can you do? Well, I can go back and mine more things and get more loot, and it's not a big deal. I said, there you go. That's a solution. She says, or I can go find my friend who killed me and kill them and get my stuff back. I said, okay, that's a solution. I'm not saying it's the right solution, but it is. And when you stay calm, you can think about these things. Now, which one do you think is going to be easier or more fun or more advantageous? And we were able to think about things. And when she was able to stay calm and think, she was able to make the right decisions. I remember, I'm a huge fan of MMA, and Anderson Silva, one of the greatest MMA legends, one of the greatest fighters that has ever been in the octagon. Anderson Silva had this cool, calm, collected style in the ring. And what was interesting is you could see his the relaxed state he was in. You could see this space that he was in, that nothing fazed him. And he would be in that place for the whole fight. And it was wild because he was able to watch, he was able to observe, he was able to react in a way that other guys did not, because they were in the anxiety, they were in the fight. Anderson Silva was in play. He was in his mode. He was just dancing around that ring. And granted, later on in his career, he got caught, he lost, but he still had that relaxed state, that looseness, that dance, and that calm under pressure that not many other people could match. And it allowed him to react in a peaceful, calm manner, even in the most heated of situations. It's not easy to stay calm when someone's trying to punch you in the face. It's not easy to stay calm when you're being chased down by a grizzly bear. But these are the exact moments that you need to try to keep your composure and to stay calm under pressure, because those are the moments that you need to be making decisions that are going to be things that affect you in the long term. So, like I tell Ailani, like I tell anybody who I'm working with, my editors, and when I'm running my business, like I'm telling my production team when I run and create content for people, whatever it is we're dealing with, stay calm, stay cool, and you'll be able to get through to the other side. All right. Hope you guys have a beautiful Monday. I hope you have an awesome week, and I'll see you next week.